You know, you hear scientists talk about us as deterministic creatures. We're causal, like an alarm clock. You wind the thing up, of course you don't anymore, but you wind the thing up and it just ticks away, and one thing follows another. It's like, we're actually not like that. You build systems of habit. So here's an example. If I go like this, that's a ballistic movement. And I have to plan that movement from here to here before I execute it, because the movement is so fast that I can't get a neural message from my hand to my brain and back to stop it once it's started. So the whole thing is deterministic. I plan it, let it go, it's deterministic. But I know how to do this. It's habit. I have a structure built in me that's deterministic. And lots of things you do are like that. Habit. Anything you practice enough, it's habit. So you're deterministic at the habit level, but you're not deterministic at the level of consciousness. Because consciousness comes into play when you're doing something that you haven't done before. And so that's interesting, because what it means is the conscious you is dealing with the world that isn't determined yet. And I would say it's actually dealing with the world of possibility, the world of potential. And it's a world we believe in. You say to people, you're not living up to your potential. And you say that to yourself too, you know, when you wake up at night and you're guilty. I'm not living up to my potential. And you don't feel good about that. And you think, well, there's potential around you that you're not exploiting. You know, and you feel bad about that too. And you should. And so it's a good source of guilt and shame. Not enough to crush you maybe, but enough to wake you up. And it's certainly not something you hope for the people that you love. It's okay, you're wasting your potential. It doesn't matter. It's like no one says that. And so we're contending with potential. And we know that because we wake up in the morning and poof, we're awake. Like the sun has risen again, we're awake. And we confront the world. And what do we confront? We confront the possibilities, the potential, and the horror of the day. Here's the things we could do. Here's the things that could go bad. Here's how we could make things go better. And you know what that is. It's usually, there's 3 or 4 things that I need to do today that I'd rather avoid. But I better do them, because if I don't do them, the world will be a worse place by 6 o'clock tonight. Right? And that's a funny thing, because the world isn't like that yet. It isn't made like that yet. It won't be made like that until you make it. And you might think, well, here's some things I could do that would be good, that would actually make the world a better place by 6 o'clock tonight. Take some effort, you know, and the willingness and some aim, but you could do that. You could make it slightly better than it was, and certainly slightly less worse than it could be. And you know that, it weighs on you, I would say, as soon as you wake up. It might be a moral burden, or it might be excitement, or it might be some combination of both. But that's certainly how you view yourself. A conscious agent, confronting what has not yet been brought into being, confronting potential, and determining the course that the world's going to take. Maybe just in your small area, but who knows how big your area is and how much what you do echoes around you. You know, we have an idea in our culture that each of us is the center of the world. That's why you're part of the sovereign state. That's why you vote. That's why the future of the state itself is dependent on your decision. Because we've decided over like a 10,000-year period that you're king. You, for whatever reasons, it's on you. Your conscious ability to be awake and to be articulate and to be clued in and to keep nature at bay and culture straight and your own malevolence under check and to combat the unknown and to transform it into something that's good. That's what you are. And you see this reflected in the oldest stories. That's the dragon myth, you know? You go out into the terrible unknown, beyond what we understand, into the unknown itself. And you confront the terrible thing that rests there, the terrible predatory, eternal predatory monster. And you can do that because that's what you're like. You're not cowering at home. You're not frozen into submission. You're out there active, and you can take it on. And as a consequence, you can attain something of substantive value, right? And that's you. That's the transformation of you, because now you're braver because you've done it, but it's also something now that you've garnered from the potential, and you can bring that back and you can distribute that into the community. That's the story of humanity. It's the oldest story we have, and it's correct. There's this idea in Genesis, and I'll end with this. So there's this idea in Genesis that at the beginning of time, there was potential. Tohu vabohu. There was potential. It was nothing. Like the nothing that's there when you wake up in the morning, that's just the potential of the day. It's all sorts of things that could be, but nothing that is. And then there's a structure that confronts it. Well, that's you. There you are, the structure that confronts potential. And then there's the personality that you use to confront it. So in Genesis, the personality is logos, and it's something like truthful courage and communicative ability, all amalgamated. It's something like that. So, and it's a lesson. It's like, okay, there's the potential. What are you supposed to do with it? Well, there you are, ready to confront it. How do you confront it? With truth and courage. And then you transform it into what exists. You take the potential and you transform it into being itself. That's your job. In Genesis, when God does this repeatedly, he says something repeatedly. He says, after each day of doing this, and it was good. I mean, and it's repeated, so it's like it means something. It's repeated. And what does it mean? If you confront potential with truth and courage, then what you produce is good. Well, so that's a good thing to know if you want to produce what's good. It's like confront the potential with truth and courage, and what you produce is good. Great. So that's a nice thing to know. It's a fundamental ethical axiom, and it's sort of predicated on faith. It's not easy to be courageous, and it's not easy to tell the truth. But the theory is if you manage both of those in the face of potential, then what you do is you produce out of potential what is good. So that's a theory worth investigating, perhaps for the rest of your life. And then there's a corollary to this story, and the story is at the end of God's creation, describing how order emerges from chaos or being from potential. There's this strange line, which is probably the most important line that's ever been written in our culture, at the basis of our culture. And that is that men and women are made in the image of God. And what does that mean? Well, if God is that which confronts potential with truth and courage and makes what's good out of potential, that seems to indicate that we have the same faculty. Like on a smaller scale, we're not omniscient, but we're not bloody well nothing. You know, our conscience is integrally tied into the structure of being in some manner we don't understand. And it certainly is the case that we take what isn't and turn it into what is. That's something, man. That's quite the trick we've been able to manage. And so we're made in that image. And so what are we supposed to do? Well, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to type our letters and make our phrases and construct our sentences and build our paragraphs and put our chapters together and make our books and communicate to people and straighten out the damn culture and constrain the malevolence and ignorance that besets each of us and push nature back and extend ourselves out into the unknown and confront the potential that's there in illimitable quantities and make the world better than it could be otherwise. To move it away from hell, and it can certainly become that, and toward heaven to the degree that we can manage that. And that is a good enough goal. That's the thing. You need something, you know, because your life is tough. It's hard. You need something that, you know, you need something to get out of bed for and fight for. And that's something, right? To fight, let's say, against hell and for heaven. That's something to fight for, especially... And you know, if you want to be convinced about this, like read a little bit about hell. Read the Gulag Archipelago, or read Ordinary Men, or read the Rape of Nanking, or read about what happened in Nazi Germany during Auschwitz and all the catastrophes of the 20th century, and see if you believe in hell, and see if you think, well, maybe not having that happen anymore would be a good idea. And then think about maybe that's something you could contribute to. And then it wouldn't have to happen anymore. And that would be a good thing. And God only knows what great things we could manage under such conditions. We're becoming incredibly technologically powerful. And what would it be like if we became equally wise? Well, that would really be something. God only knows what we could manage in the next 20 years or the next 100 years, you know? We're running at 40%, most of us, you know, because we're half in and half out. And it's not surprising because life is difficult. It's like, well, what if you were 90% in or 95% in or all in? Because you're all in anyways, right? It's a life and death game. No one gets out of this. Everyone dies. You might as well commit yourself And you might as well commit yourself to the highest good that you can attain, because why not? It'll imbue your life with meaning. It's hard, the responsibility is there, but all the meaning's in the responsibility, and that'll make your life better. It'll make your family's life better, and it should make your culture better. Maybe it make the world better. It's like, that'll justify your damn miserable existence at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're wondering what the hell you're doing here. And that's a good thing, because there's going to be days when you're aching and tired and sore, and there's people in your family that are sick, and you're cynical and bitter, and you need a reason to get up, and you think, yeah, well, a little more heaven and a little less hell, maybe I can pull that off today and tomorrow and next week. And that's worth struggling forward for. And so that's how it looks to me. So thank you very much.